Hi, I'm David Fleming from the Disciples Ignited YouTube channel, where we are focused on Jesus, advancing his kingdom, and preparing his disciples. Now, we started a study on the book of Haggai, one of the shorter books of the minor prophets, and yesterday was our first video, but we kind of set the stage on the time period that Haggai is ministering in. And we're told in the very first verse of the first chapter that in the second year of King Darius, on the first day of the 6th month, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel. That tells us that Haggai is ministering in a very difficult period of the kingdom of Judah. We tried to set the stage yesterday in yesterday's video, so if you haven't listened to that one, I do encourage you to go back to yesterday's video and where I tell you about what's been happening for about the first 100 years before Haggai was even born. It's just been a shaky time for the kingdom of Judah, really for the nations of the entire earth. And we see that there are many empires that are groping for power. They're playing king of the mountain. They're trying to take all the power for themselves and overcome over nations. And so there was Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler over the Babylonian Empire, and then the Persian Empire overcame the Babylonian Empire. Cyrus began to rule, and then Cyrus died, and Darius became the ruler over the Babylonian Persian Empire. And that's when Haggai is ministering, when Darius is the ruler over the Persian Empire. Cyrus, before Darius even comes on, Cyrus had begun to allow many of the exiles, the Jewish exiles, to go back to their homeland. He says, if you want to go back home, you got my permission, and I want you to rebuild the temple, and I want you to start living in your own land. And so there were many of the Jews that did go back to the promised land. Darius, when he began to rule, we find that is the time period that Haggai is ministering. But things in the kingdom of Judah really haven't gotten any better. They're still very, very difficult. The land is war torn. The temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar almost 100 years before that time. Well, 80 years before that time. The whole nation is economically devastated. They don't rule over themselves. That's why it says that the word of the Lord came to Haggai and was sent to Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah. He wasn't the king. He had to answer to Darius. They were really kind of like owned and operated by the Medo-Persian Empire. And so the word of the Lord was still being spoken. Even in difficult times, the word of the Lord was being listened to. Let me ask you, and this is what I really want to share with you today. We're living in difficult times today. Nations are rising up against nations. Many people are going through such difficult times. Do you feel like the carpet has been pulled out from under you, like the Jews must have felt like the carpet had been pulled out from underneath them? They no longer have their own nation, really. They answer to other nations. But the Lord was still speaking. He was speaking to those who were willing to listen. Thank God for Haggai. The word of the Lord, the Bible tells us, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Haggai. Well, the Lord is still speaking today, even in difficult times. And he is willing to speak to you encouragement, but he also will speak to us those things that we need to get right. See, the message that the Lord gave to Haggai was not an easy message. It was really a message of rebuke, but he was willing to listen. And when we listen to the Lord and we obey the Lord, things always turn around. Let's talk more about it tomorrow.